It accumulates all of the people that are really interested in magic, or, as we say, has the bug.
Hidden within the city of Reading, Pennsylvania, there lies a shop. This is far from your ordinary shop, however. This shop has been creating wonder and amazement for 8 decades. From those who have been going there half their lives, to those experiencing its charm for the very first time, they can't help but feel at home. This is the Mingus Magic Shop. This is Wayne.
Hello.
We'll get back to him in a few minutes.
Oh. Okay.
Because this story starts all the way back in the 19th century.
I've been in the entertaining business for about 50 years.
Leroy Herbert Mingus was born in February of 1896 in Luzerne County, Pennsylvania. Like most boys growing up, Leroy had many hobbies and interests, but there was one that would never go away: magic. It wasn't until after briefly serving in the United States Army during World War I that Leroy attended a local performance by famed magician Howard Thurston. He was selected from the audience to assist Thurston with a magic trick on stage. Following this encounter, Leroy knew he was destined for the life of a magician. After taking the time to hone his craft, Mingus quickly became a staple in the East Coast vaudeville circuit. He shared the stage with the era's top names in entertainment. Mingus would go on to befriend master magician Harry Blackstone Sr. The two would write and visit together whenever their paths crossed. After countless performances and years of extensive touring, Leroy married his first wife, Elizabeth Dreyer. He then decided it was time to settle down and take on steady work. So, using another one of his many skills, he took a job working for the Hens Johnston Sign Company as a gold leaf artist. Company officials in the area would proudly show off the famous magician's handiwork on their office doors. It was also in 1938 that Mingus joined the business world when he decided to open the Mingus Magic Shop.
My business at one time was at 408 Penn Avenue, West Reading.
Actually, you couldn't find the shop. It was somewhat hidden. First off, it was in the basement, and he really didn't advertise. I mean, there was no flashing sign out, magic here or advertisement. So it was kind of like you had to know to go there and where to go.
You'd walk down those steps, and on the cement wall was a mural of a magician in black tails and top hat, white gloves.
It was just a little hole in the wall. He didn't have much stuff to sell. It was mostly just a little rack of magic tricks.
Going down into his shop and having all of the paraphernalia around, and it was just a young boy just in awe. And out comes this bigger than life young man, Mr. Mingus.
I was intrigued the first time I went there because Leroy Mingus, and I thought, well, Mingus couldn't possibly be his last name because that is a magic name, Mingus. But I found out it was, and he was really the nicest man. He really was.
Due to Leroy's friendly and welcoming personality, the shop quickly became a popular hangout for magicians of all ages and skill levels. It became so popular that it led Mingus to form the Mingus Magic Club, associated with the International Brotherhood of Magicians, a club that still meets to this day. Another thing that the Mingus Magic Shop would become popular for was their feather flowers.
What I bought from him was feather flowers. And I just liked the beauty of the flowers. I liked what he had them do different tricks, appear, disappear, wilt. He had the Britannias.
He'd sit there and talk to you, make the flowers taping or soldering or wherever, It was fun to watch him make the flowers.
His fingers always had the colors of all the feathers on them because he was always making the feather tricks with them.
Because of the work he did with the oils and the feathers, his hands were always dirty. And when the dove appeared, the white dove, the breast of the dove was always black. And it was kind of comical.
Mingus Feather Flowers even went as far as appearing on several hit TV shows such as Happy Days, Perfect Strangers, The Incredible Hulk, and The Love Boat. The highlight of the Feather Flowers' fame came when the theme for the 1962 Miss America pageant was magic. Leroy was asked to construct, along with a few other props, a 7-foot, 64-flower Britannia for the show's climax of producing Miss America. Mingus's creativity didn't end there. He produced many more tricks. So many, in fact, that in 1952 he established the Mingus Magic Manufacturing Corporation.
Every time he would come there, he'd have a new trick, and he was also giving. He was very, very giving too. A lot of times he'd just say, here, and give you a trick that, something small or something like that.
One of Leroy's biggest endeavors was releasing the Young Magician Magic Set. It was a high-quality magic set that sold for $15 at the time. There's an incomplete set on display at the current shop. Speaking of the current shop, on January 8th, 1968, a young man would walk into the shop that would change Mingus Magic history forever.
Tell me when to stop. Stop.
Hey, Wayne.
Looks like they need me over here. Well, I'm glad I caught you when you're actually open. Hi, my name is Wayne Shiflett. I am owner of the Mingus Magic Shop, which I purchased from Leroy Mingus 42 years ago on May 20th, 1976.
Little did Wayne know that over the next 50 years, he would change the magic world with his influence.
Well, my first time at the Mingus Magic Shop, I decided one night that I wanted to learn to become a magician. So turns out my Aunt Anna Mae knew where the Mingus Magic Shop was in West Reading. She passed it every day going to work. So on January 8th, 1968, she drove me over to the Mingus Magic Shop. We walked down the steps to the basement store, and there we found Leroy. And he showed me cups and balls, the very first trick I learned how to do. My version of cups and balls is taught to me by Leroy Mingus 50 years ago. It's done with 3 balls and 3 cups. One at a time, a ball is placed on the middle cup, and at the count of 3, that's 1, 2, 3, goes right through. Let's do that again. Second ball on the middle cup, and again on the count of 3. That's 1, 2, 3, and that one goes through. We have one more to go. The last ball on the middle cup, and again on the count of 3. It's 1, 2, 3, and they're all through. But now the hard part. Hard part is actually trying to find the 4th ball. The reason the 4th ball is hard to find is because it's invisible. I keep those in my pocket right here. Invisible ball on the middle cup, and again on the count of 3. Here we go. 1, whoop, sorry, it fell off. Let's get it back on top. And once again on the count of 3, it's 1, 2, 3, and they all penetrate through. Once I learned cups and balls and started going back to learn more magic, that's when I caught the bug. And Leroy just started teaching me more and more. He took me under his wing and knew I was serious about learning magic.
Magic was really, really important to Wayne. It really was. Almost to the point of a profession. You know, I mean, he really loved magic. I mean, I liked magic, you know, and I did shows but with Wayne it was completely different. He had a different interest in it, and he always has.
My son Wayne doing his magic again.
Wayne used to be hanging out there quite often on a Saturday when we would be there. I know the first time I met Wayne, he had just ridden his bicycle to the magic shop. I guess Wayne lived in town, and he used to bicycle to the magic shop, and that's where I met him. And Wayne was making flowers and stuff also. He was pretty close to Mr. Mingus.
He put me to work. He made feather flower magic and sold them to shops all over the country. So he put me to work. Curl these feathers, cut these feathers, steam these feathers, trim these feathers. Not realizing that I was learning the trade and the art of making feather flower magic.
In addition to helping around the shop, Wayne would also assist Leroy in his performances.
Our ring did a banquet every year at the Goodwill Fire Company, and that particular year Leroy was on the show as a Chinese magician, and his Chinese magic name was Li Ming, from Leroy Mingus. And my cousin Chris was his assistant. My aunt Anna, which was Chris's mother, was also his assistant, and I was his assistant.
It was a close relationship there, and I think they both respected each other because Leroy's years in magic and Wayne's years to come in magic, and I think they had a very good relationship.
Hanging out at the Mingus Magic Shop with Leroy was more than just making feather flowers. It was actually just to keep him company. He enjoyed listening to the Phillies game on the radio, and we would just sit out on the sidewalk and listen to the radio. I also took him to various conventions throughout the year. Took him to shows or wherever he needed to go. So it was more than a customer-owner relationship. We got to know each other on a personal level as well. Every once in a while in the magic shop, if there was somebody else to buy something, Leroy would look around and say, you know, I think I'm going to sell the shop. Well, that piqued a lot of people's interest, and you know, they wanted to buy the shop from him, as I did as well. But I realized after a while that he just said that, I think, to get people going. He really wasn't serious at the time. But eventually, there was a time when he had to sell the business, and that's kind of where I came into the picture to buy the shop.
In 1975, Leroy required heart bypass surgery. Unfortunately, he refused to do the recommended therapy, resulting in the necessary amputation of his leg.
And that was the point I realized that he would probably never get back to the shop again. He had arthritis really bad, and I asked him if he wanted to sell. He gave me the keys. He said, take a look around and make me an offer. Fortunately, he accepted my offer. And I used to go to see him every week, and his hands were, like I said, arthritis. He could hardly move his hands. But after he signed the agreement, he asked me to bring him some magic. He wanted to practice. And 2 weeks later, when I went up to see him, he was actually moving his hands. His arms were going back and forth. He was going for therapy. He asked to be fitted with a prosthesis, and he was getting double therapy. He learned how to walk with his prosthesis, and took him 9 months, but he walked out of Berksheim.
Every day for the next 3 years, Leroy would go to the shop and continue to produce the wonderful feather flowers he was known for, up until almost the day he died.
The end of 1979, Leroy was having chest pains, and turned out he was having mild heart attacks. And he died December 31st, 1979.
He was just very creative, very unique, and later on when I seen some of his performances, I realized what a good performer he was, how skilled he was.
He was nice, he was funny. Used to take him to picnics sometime, the magic picnic. Me and my mom would pick him up.
He was just a great old guy, you know. And he used to walk up to the West Reading Tavern all the time. That's because he used to go there for lunch every day. And he was already rigged. His coat was rigged. He always had stuff in his pockets. He said, because they expected this from him. Because right there's the magic shop, right here's the tavern. So they say, hey, Mr. Mingus. He'd walk in. He was always ready to prepare to do something for anybody and everybody. He was pretty cool. He's a cool old guy.
His legacy, if he's looking down on us, that legacy has really held fast for so many years.
He loved my apple pies. That's about it. And I love to hear him talk about his when he performed with the older magicians like Blackstone and all those. He had some, oh my God, I could just sit and listen to him talk.
I always thought Mingus had these mysterious eyes. I mean, they were just like the eyes of, very mysterious. And he was kind of a quiet guy. He was kind of quiet, but he was, he was a nice man. He really was.
Though the man was gone, Wayne would be determined to be sure the name Mingus stayed relevant. So, following his mentor's advice of, the show must go on, he continued to run the shop just as Leroy had while making moves toward the future and bringing it new life.
He expanded the shop. Once the guy upstairs moved out, he moved the magic shop upstairs. The workshop was still downstairs then. and it was there till like the early 1980s. Then he moved to North 9th Street for I don't know how many years that was. Then he moved over here to Lancaster Avenue. Been here since.
Yeah, I got him caught up in the Halloween business, and he was selling a lot of the whole shop in October was just great. It was just all Halloween, and it was just wonderful.
Back then, this was before all the big Halloween stores. So come Halloween time, he'd have he did a lot of costume rentals. He had a lot of the big time masks that are worth a fortune now. All the old Star Wars masks.
Oh, Leroy never had all the things that Wayne has in the shop. He never had, you know, things like this. You couldn't go in like you can now into Wayne's and, you know, see display cases with tricks in. He just didn't have that.
Well, after I liquidated the costume shop, I had some extra space in the store, which I expanded the magic a little bit. But we had an IBM ring and an SAM assembly that would meet here. So I decided to take the area that was our costume shop and turn it into a mini theater. Built a small stage, got some theater seats, some curtains, a marquee, and that became the Mingus Magic Mini Vaudeville Theater.
The Mingus Mini Vaudeville Theater is the perfect venue for all the events the shop hosts.
It's a great little stage to practice new stuff on, to come up with new routines, and it's just it's a blessing just to have it, to be able to get up on this stage 1 foot above the crowd and entertain. I mean, that's where we all start from, and we catapult after that out into the world and do magic for all those that are willing to watch and listen and be amazed.
what makes it so much different than buying things online is that when you come here, it's not just that you see a fancy advertisement, you get it, and it might be good, might be not. You're gonna see it, right in front of you. There's no trickery involved at all. And when you buy it, you're taught it, right? You're not just, here's a instruction manual, go and do it. You walk through it step by step, and I find that that's the best way to learn.
Now, usually the reason people first come into the Mingus Magic Shop is they have an interest in magic. The reason they come back?
Wayne.
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 Wayne is the heart of the shop, and that's what everything revolves around.
Wayne's kind of our idol. He's kind of the guy that either, number one, he gets you started when you've never seen anyone else do a magic trick, or you've been coming in here since you're 8 years old, and he's been your mentor your whole life.
The godfather of the shop. He is the one who sets the tone for the rest of us, and with self-deprecating humor and with incredible patience, he's able to allow us to have a place to congregate in group and to be a group of friends as well as magicians.
He's not only a businessman here to sell you, the latest and the greatest. He's kind of like a mentor to all of us. As a matter of fact, about at least a half a dozen of the guys that I know have started coming here as children and have gone on to become professional magicians.
So you walk into one shop and you have this one guy behind the counter and he's chatting with a group of people and you're interested in getting an effect and he pays no attention to you. With Wayne, he may have a store full of people and he manages somehow to take care of everybody, or at least acknowledge, hey, I'll be right with you, or is there anything that you know that you need? But he manages to take care of everybody.
He's not making $1 million doing this. There's no way. But he's having a lot of fun, and without him, none of this would happen. We wouldn't have conventions and clubs and people and things to do if it weren't for Wayne. It starts with Wayne, it ends with Wayne. If we could all be a little bit more Wayne-like, I think the world would be a better place. We'd all have a better understanding of each other. There's no more compassionate person that I know. So if I could take anything away from here other than magic, it's the leadership that Wayne exudes here in the shop.
I think we have a good relationship. He kids me, I joke with him back, we have fun, we laugh. I don't know, he's not sure what else to say. He's a good guy.
If you think buying magic is all there is to do at the shop, then it's time you take a trip and experience it for yourself.
The real magic of this place inside of the Mingus Magic Shop is not the tricks, it's not the gimmicks, it's not the product, it's the people, it's the relationships. It only becomes magic when you make a connection to someone. Everything else is just practice. It's only magic if you can make that connection, if you can really make somebody smile and maybe improve their day a little bit. That's what the real magic is.
It's kind of like a magic oasis in the middle of Reading, Pennsylvania. It's quite a find, and it's not like any other place you'll see.
Everybody is there to help you and not try to berate you, and they want to help you become the best magician possible.
The shop's really tight. It's a really good group of guys. Everybody's always welcome to see you. Hey, come in, sit down, get something to drink.
It's a family. It really is. And this is like the family room of all of us that make the family of magicians that are welcomed into this Mingus household. And anyone who walks in the door instantly is welcomed as part of the family. And that's amazing.
as fake as what we seem to do sometimes, there is a level of reality that, you know, we inspire each other, and we inspire belief in imagination and creativity and an art that isn't really dying as much as people think it is. It is very much evolving.
Whether it be magicians themselves, family members of magicians, even friends that come in, it's just the fact that everyone who comes in here always seems to have a really good time, always seem to have a smile on their face.
That's what a magic shop's about. You never know who you're going to meet in a magic shop. You never know who's going to be there at the time you walk in. You don't know who has what expertise until you really start sitting down and getting to know everybody.
The relationships formed at the shop are strong, and sometimes are very much so needed.
Some of the things that touched me the most about being in this club is our work with Alex's Lemonade Stand. I don't want to get into too many of the details of it because I wouldn't be able to get through it on video, but you know, we had a club member a number of years ago who had a daughter who was ill, and as a club we looked at each other and said, what do we know how to do? You know, we don't know how to do much, but collectively we know how to do a lot, right? So we said, let's have a show. Let's do a show. Let's give them money because they were helping their daughter with cancer, so you know, they were missing a lot of work and stuff like that. So we said, let's just do a show. Raise money. Whatever money we get, we're going to give to the family. You know, sadly, we didn't get to that point. We weren't able to hold the show before ultimately she passed. So
the most touching thing is just how much everybody embraced us and our story. You know, with that first magic show, as I mentioned earlier, that initially was coming together, you know, a lot because Ryan and the rest of that group were trying to figure out a way to help us out because my daughter was sick, and you know, we didn't know at that point how things were going to turn out. And they wanted to try to do a show as a benefit to us, just to help us with everything that was happening financially. So, you know, and the fact that she passed before we could have that show, you know, was tragic and everything. But immediately the whole group flipped into, okay, well then how can we do this as a way to remember her and to do something positive? And so, yeah, that's how the Magic for Miracles show came about, to support Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation. And there's nothing that you can express to really convey how much it touches your heart to know that there are people like that, you know, that are willing to put that amount of time and take something on and make it, you know, their own and really run with it. So that's been pretty amazing.
One of the biggest endeavors for members of the shop is to put on their annual magic convention.
Well, first of all, I love the guys who put on the magic convention. I would probably come even if the level of talent was not quite what it is. But the truth is they bring incredible talent every year. It's a great group of guys. They put on a great convention every year. I want to say this is maybe 6 or 7 for me. I've sort of lost count.
I have to say it was everything I hoped for. I knew that I'd be working an awful lot. Ryan Parsons told me I'd have to slow down. Please go watch a lecture. Please sit down, relax. It was rubbing elbows with the best of the best in the business.
a lot of the performers we fly in here and come to this convention, people who fly from Las Vegas. Michael Finney, he's here today. He's a world famous magician. He's one of the best in the world. He could be making 10 times as much money to do a corporate gig tonight, and he's not. And why? Because he's here at this convention to teach the next generation.
And they see what our club does, that how much we put into the community. We're doing it for a good cause. That's why they come here.
I would highly recommend, if you haven't went into Mingus or come here, do so. You won't regret it. Period.
The day is capped off by an evening show filled with top performers from all over the world.
It's very difficult to make a career doing magic, but one of the success stories that came out of the Mingus Magic Shop is Wayne Hoffman. I remember him as an 8-year-old kid riding his bike to the shop on weekends or after school to learn magic. And I remember him telling me, this is all I want to do. I can't imagine doing anything else. I just want to do magic.
You don't find this place finds you. And they said, there's this magic shop. It's called the Mingus Magic Shop. Did you ever hear of it? I said, no. And I remember kind of being excited and intrigued, like there's a shop, there's a place where I can learn magic. And so I lived somewhat in the area, a bicycle riding distance away. So I remember I was, 10, 11, 12, during that time, I would ride my bicycle here. And I remember for the first time I rode my bicycle here and I chained it up right out front, locked it up, and I came inside. And at first I was a little like, what is this place? It's, the vibe you would get from a magic shop is the vibe I had. What you would feel it would be like to walk into a magic shop is what I felt when I first walked into the Mingus Magic Shop.
He started doing kids' birthday parties just like everybody else started doing. And then he went on to do restaurant magic. Various restaurants locally that he would perform for. He got 1, got 2, got turned down a lot, but he was persistent and kept going back until he finally got a yes, and then another yes. He started doing colleges, high schools, and got into illusions. He had, big illusions, water torture cell, crystal casket, booked himself twice at the Raya Theater, sold it out, and booked his own show there. He did a lot to advance his career. Then he finally got into mind reading and mentalism, and that seemed to be his forte.
From coming into the shop and being able to experience other magicians, talk with Wayne, learn, and be in that environment, luckily for me, it's changed everything. I've gotten to see the entire world because of it. I've been to 73 different countries around the world, and literally I've lost count of the TV shows I've done. I just filmed a TV show in South Korea. Like, who would have ever thought I would be in South Korea doing magic? And it's all because of the shop.
I specifically remember this one instance where I came into the magic shop actually without Wayne Hoffman. It was just, I was in the area, and of course, I wanted to stop by and say hi to Wayne Shiflett. So I came in, and Wayne was actually performing some magic for these 2 kids, and their bikes were parked right outside of the door, and it had reminded me of the story that Wayne Hoffman told me when he first came to the shop. He says that he rode his bike here as a young boy, and it was so cool to see, maybe 20 years later, these 2 young boys doing the exact same thing, getting on their bicycles, riding to the shop, and then seeing Wayne Shiflett show them some magic tricks, and just their faces were so intrigued and so just eager to learn. And I saw what Wayne Hoffman had always described to me as him as a child in these 2 young boys, and that in itself was really magical. Just to see the generations that Wayne Shiflett has affected and inspired is really, for lack of better words, magical.
In March of 2015, I remember getting a phone call for him on a Friday asking if I could help him with his show the following week. Turned out to be in New York. He was filming America's Got Talent. And that was truly an experience, not just for him, but it was for me as well, to help him with his effect he was doing as a mind reader on America's Got Talent. And then last year, a call from him to come out to Las Vegas for the filming of Penn and Teller. He got a routine together that he thought could fool him, and it was really great being there in the audience as he was doing the show for Penn and Teller and actually fooling Penn and Teller. That was an experience I'll remember.
By the way, anyone watching this, if you want to know when the Mingus Magic Shop is open, after 26 years, I'm still trying to figure out the hours of this joint. So don't even try. It'll be open when it's meant to be open. Remember, a wizard arrives exactly when he means to, and the Mingus Magic Shop is open exactly when it means to be.
met with Wayne a couple weeks ago, and it was just a strange meeting with him because a lot of the commonalities started to come out between what Mr. Mingus did for me and mentored me and passed on to Wayne, and now I see here with a lot of the young magicians that same common thread.
I'm glad Wayne bought the shop, because if it wasn't for Wayne, the Mingus Magic name wouldn't be alive today, or the flowers wouldn't be alive. Nobody would know the Mingus Magic name.
You come in here and it could be your first time in here, and Wayne will treat you like you've been coming in here regularly for years. And that's how Leroy was. You come in there one time and didn't matter what age you were, and he was treated you just like, you know, you always came in there, and always said, you know, hope to see you again, you know, all the time.
With a bright outlook on the future, Wayne and the Mingus Magic Shop are looking forward to celebrating 100 years of Mingus Magic. Thank you for supporting.
You still here? It's over. Go home. Go.